All right, welcome back to, we're going to go episode 2 of 2021 because I lost track.
Episode 14.
14.
Yeah.
We're only in 14. I've lost track of podcasts.
Yeah.
Whoops. We have this week a home stager. I, for one, vouch for home stagers because I do not have the staging decorative gene within me.
I make the things look pretty, not
Yeah.
Marcus.
I worry about like how it's going to all be built in financial side, and then I will happily hand over the keys to a home stager to make the thing look great.
Right.
So we have Sveta here. She is from, I believe it was Montreal.
Uh-huh.
Okay. So the first about 5 minutes of our conversation was trying to find out where we were
Yes.
and where she was.
Yes.
Because she said she was from Canada, and she said she's heard of Wisconsin, so that was a plus. But no, then we got into kind of the reasons for home staging, some common misconceptions about home staging, why it's needed, all those fun things. So we are going to jump into it. It was a great show. Hopefully, everybody listening, if you're looking to sell, we're going to leave all the contact information in the show notes.
Mm-hmm.
Contact her. She talks a little bit about virtual.
Yep.
So if you are looking to sell and do not have a contact for home staging, she would be a great resource for you. Enjoy the show.
Okay, so my name is Sveta Melchuk, and I'm a Canadian. I'm located in Montreal, and I've started my home staging business in early 2006. Kind of came upon it accidentally, actually, because I was in a completely different career. I was in IT sales, but I felt that I wanted to get out of it. I wanted to do something more creative, and I wanted to do something that would benefit people directly, where I could really see the difference I'm making in people's lives. And so I came, actually I saw a show on TV. I was home with a broken leg and a cast, so I was like watching a lot of TV, and I saw on HGTV a show at the time. I think it was called something, a Stage to Sell or something like that.
Yeah.
And then it kind of intrigued me. So I watched the show, and very quickly I realized that the concept was very simple, but at the same time it made so much sense, and it was just so logical because, people would clean their cars up, and they would fix the car up before they sell it, or if they go for a job interview, they will make themselves look good and presentable, hopefully.
Yeah.
So that kind of makes sense. So like, why wouldn't the person take time and a little bit of effort to make their house look the best it can look? Because obviously for most people, their home is their biggest financial investment, right?
Right.
So to me, it just made so much sense. And I was like, well, why don't people, like, how is it that they're not even embarrassed to have people coming in and having photos taken, and have visitors come in with like laundry lying around and dirty dishes in the sink and like beds unmade, or something like, a leak somewhere, like it hasn't been painted in 25 years, the house looks horrible. So that kind of got me thinking, and I realized that it was a business that I knew absolutely nothing about. I didn't have any decorating background, and so I was really, to be honest, I was like extremely, extremely scared. I was very uncomfortable and insecure, but I said, okay, I need to try this. So I started part-time, and I kind of started practicing on a couple of friends and family members. And what happened is that people actually truly like the changes that I've made in their houses. And I got a lot of compliments. And so that gave me a little bit more confidence. And then I started calling local real estate agents and offering them my services. And that didn't go very well. Because in 2006 nobody ever heard of home staging besides probably in California and Washington State, where it originated.
Sure.
But most agents, especially here, did not know what it was, and were kind of offended by me offering to tell their clients how the house should be presented. And they were like saying to me, like, why? I've been selling houses successfully for 20 years. Who do you think you are to come and tell me?
Oh, no.
Oh, boy.
Yeah. So that honestly it took a lot of time. I would say at least 3 years to kind of break through and to change the mentality. But what really changed the mentality, and I knew it was going to come from the consumer, and that's exactly what happened, because the more shows were available on HDTV, on reality shows, the more people were watching, the more they started talking about it in newspapers and in media, the more the consumers started asking the realtors that they were interviewing on, oh, do you offer home staging services? And then the same realtor who 3 years before or 2 years before wouldn't even answer my calls started calling me in a panic, and asking me whether I could come and help them out. So that's how kind of slowly, that's how I built my business. And, I became quite a leader in my local area. So I've been doing it for 15 years now. But in 2018, I started going online. And now I try to focus mostly on helping home sellers everywhere in the world. So I have clients a lot of my clients are in the U.S. I have clients in Canada. I've had clients in Australia, New Zealand, UK, and basically I do the same services that I provide in person, but for a little bit maybe of a different clientele online. It works really well.
Good for you for persevering through all of that, though. I don't know if I would have been able to be brave enough to push through.
Yeah, it takes a certain amount of a certain person to be able to take so many no's.
Yeah.
But know that they're
a lot of perseverance.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, but I really wanted, and I really wanted to change careers, and I really saw the potential, and I really thought that it needed to people needed to be educated. And I think even today some people need education. And you can tell me, Marcus, from your experience, do your home sellers even understand the benefits of home staging, or is it something that you have to educate them about?
Usually we do a brief little walkthrough about what you need to take out, what you need to add in, and then give them reasons of why. So we always usually run through the property with the owner just to say, these are things that we've got to fix. Because when you're living in it, that's one thing. But when you're trying to show it off and trying to get buyers in, it can't look lived in. It can't look disarray. I've got 3 kids at home. We can't have a showing with the 3 kids just throwing toys around and everything disarray. And like you said when you were giving us your little background about showcasing, you clean up for an interview, you clean your car when you're selling it, you should clean your house when you're selling it as well and organize it. So, I mean, that's a really good picture to paint on that one.
That's why I'm never moving.
Well, also, I think I'm a little different from other home stagers out there. Actually, I think I'm a lot different. And one of the things is that because I have a IT background, I'm very project oriented. That's how my mind works. So I understand that when we prepare a house for sale, and I don't even like to call it home staging per se, because I think there is a misconception, and unfortunately a lot of realtors have that misconception that home staging just means tidying up and cleaning up and just putting some nice cushions and a bedspread, but to me it's a much, I mean, for some people it might be enough, right? But for most people, especially in a regular lived-in home, like you said, where you have kids and you have dogs and whatever, not everybody lives the same way. I take it as a project from A to B. So I guarantee my clients a complete transformation, and I make them work. So sometimes it goes a lot deeper than just superficial cleaning and stuff. I take it from what are the repairs that need to be done, what colors do we need to repaint, how much do we need to declutter, where we're going to store the stuff that has to get out of the house. And so for some people, it could be still a very small project. But for some people, it could be a bigger project. But what I do is not fluff. So when my clients work with me, the house is going to be really at its best and really top shape for the best sale.
Yeah. And I always recommend getting somebody in, like yourself, to go in. If you're going to sell your house, you've got so many moving pieces and so many other things that you're doing within the transaction, not even counting your own personal life.
Yeah.
So to have somebody in as a professional that's going to give you a direction of, hey, do this, and this is why.
Exactly.
It kind of cleans it up. And then on the opposite side from the buyer, you want them to walk into the house and not have to imagine what it could be, or imagine what this should, or how the functionality of this room could be.
Exactly.
And you see that a lot in the commercial space when you've got like build to suit.
Yeah.
Those always take the longest to get leased. On average. Obviously, some companies love to go in and build their own stuff, but it's hard for a mom and pop shop to come in with all the moving pieces they already are doing to keep their business running, to go and envision, all right, if we put a wall here and if we paint it this color and we do this here, it's so many variables that you want to make it easy for them to want to be into the space.
Well, you know that over 90% of people, the general populations, are unable to visualize what a space could look like. And so that's why builders, for example, you know that when builders present, they always have a model home. Yeah. And the model home is always impeccably decorated, right? Mm-hmm. Because they're selling a dream. They're selling a lifestyle. They're selling what I call a wow factor. Yeah. And this is what I create. This is what I call myself. Like, I'm a creator of a wow factor. And I believe that, you know, there's another misconception about home staging that I hear a lot of times. People tend to think, they get scared because they think it's expensive.
Yeah, that is the number one objection that I get.
Yep. Yeah, so because, and I'll tell you why, and this is, again, you know, why I think that's something that differentiates me from a lot of other people. I truly believe that any person, doesn't matter if you have a small condo for $150,000 or if you have a multi-million-dollar mansion, but every person can benefit from home staging, and every person can increase the resale value of their house and walk away with an extra, you know, $5,000, $10,000, $15,000. Right. So if they're willing to do the work, and if they're willing to listen to my advice, I will make sure that it is within their budget, that it's within their time frame. I will work with their constraints. So it might not be perfect, but I will never ask someone, for example, recently I was talking to a friend of mine, she's around Seattle, and she was saying that, you know, the stagers would come in and they would practically ask them to take all of their furniture out, and then they will bring a new furniture to replace. Mm-hmm. Well, not everybody can afford that, right? Maybe unless the realtor pays for that. But like if it's a $5,000 solution, let's say, which is very, by the way, it's quite a realistic number, could be, not everybody is willing or able to afford that. So me, instead, what I try to do is to work with what the people already have, and just kind of improve on what they have as much as possible to make it work. Because at the end of the day, the important thing is for them and for you to sell their property, right? And get them the highest price.
Right. And I think, like you were saying with the misconceptions, I think a lot of the sellers still think that if I hire a home stager, I have to get rid of all my stuff. I have to find a storage unit to store it in because the house I'm moving to isn't ready yet. And they feel like it's going to add another piece to the puzzle, I guess you'd say.
Yeah.
But to find a home stager that can work with the stuff they already have and just add and subtract minor details of it to clean it up, it's worth it.
I was going to say, I have a cow head in my living room, and I certainly don't want Stanley to go anywhere if I'm selling my
You've
house.
named him.
Stanley the steer.
All right.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, you have what?
I have a cow's head, you know, like a cow's skull, in my living room. We got it when we went to Austin, Texas, and I
Uh-huh.
certainly don't want my Stanley the steer to have to leave my house when I'm selling it.
Well, I'm sorry to tell you, but if I were to stage your house, I would tell you to remove it.
Yeah, that is the one thing that they always want. They don't
Sorry.
want to see
You
mounted.
don't want to
Yeah.
see things that are very personal or things that could offend other people. It's one of the staging rules. And by the way, Marcus, I wanted to mention also that, like, I'm a little controversial, but not too much. Like, I really believe that a realtor, and I think you kind of said it yourself, like a realtor's job is not to give staging advice. I don't give people advice on how to price their houses. And
Yeah.
I think a good realtor is already very occupied with a lot of other things that you have to worry about for your client. And where I also saw a lot of problems, and it's when a realtor tries to give advice to a client and a client could get offended.
Sure.
Yeah.
Because it could almost be a conflict of interest. Like if you go to somebody's house and you say, "Oh my God, your house is like really cluttered," like you really need to get rid of 50% of your stuff, or "Oh my God, you haven't painted your house in 25 years. You really need to spend $3,000 on painting." A lot of clients could kind of not react very well to that. Whether when the same information comes from me, they react to it completely differently.
Right.
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 Because
I will
they
be the
see
first to
me
admit.
as
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
You can go. Sorry.
No, I was just going to say, because it's not because they're a good realtor doesn't know what needs to be done. For sure, he or she does if they're good and experienced. But it's just the way it's perceived as an information, because you're supposed to be there to kind of protect the client and to watch over the client's best interest. And when it comes from me, they say, "Oh yeah, well, she's like neutral, she's objective, she doesn't have anything to gain by it, and she's professional." So they listen.
Right.
It's a very interesting phenomenon. But I've had so many realtors hire me just because, not because they couldn't say it to the client, they can, but they didn't want to.
Right.
So they hired me to tell the client the truth.
Right,
funny.
and it is needed. Like, I will be the first to admit, I'm not going to give anybody home staging
Right.
advice. I am probably the last person you want home staging advice from. If I had it my way, my room would be so simple. My living room would be
Simple is
simple.
good.
To a point. But we just renovated a house. I usually never pick out the paint colors. I never pick out the furniture. Just tell me what you want built and where you want it built, and we'll take care of that.
I can help make things look pretty.
Yeah. I rely on other people to make them look pretty. And you incorporate plants, and I'm lost. Pictures, I'm lost. So you never have to fear that I'm going to step on your toes when I give advice, because I stay far away from decorative, which is why I always bring in someone like you to help these clients get the top dollar. And I always tell them it's worth it. You're trading. Yes, you're going to spend money, but you're trading $100 for $1,000.
I was gonna say you're spending money.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So
At the end of the day, it's the important thing. You just said it. It's it's the result, right? It's the transformation. Right. So if they spend $1,000, but they gain back $10,000 or $15,000, of course it's worth it.
Right.
Right.
And that's the only way really to position and to present to clients. And the other thing that I find with a lot of my clients and why my services work is because people get very overwhelmed, and you kind of said it already, because there's a lot of pieces, right, to prepare the house for sale and to get it ready. And sometimes people are in a time crush, like they want to put their house on the market within 2 weeks. Some people take 3 or 4 months to prepare. But a lot of my clients are people who realize the importance of staging. They want to have the house look its best, but they don't know what to do. They don't know what's important, what's not important. They get overwhelmed. They don't want to make costly mistakes. Mm-hmm. They don't want to do stuff that might not be a priority. And so those are the people who are like ideal in terms of, because they're already educated, they already understand that it needs to be done, but they're just looking for extra support and extra help to get it done.
Yeah. And it is needed, because I know that there's people out there that they'll try to go rogue and they'll be like, well, I'll just clean it up and I'll make it look better. And you're like, well, like you wouldn't have somebody come in and do your job because you've been doing it forever and you know the pros and the cons and what makes it easier and what makes your job harder.
You wouldn't have somebody just come and fix your MacBook because they thought they could.
Because I used a computer once.
Yeah.
So always hire out a professional to do it. You've got years and years of experience. Lean on the years and years of experience from you to tell me what I should do so I can focus on what I do. And that's just kind of how I always explain it. Mm-hmm. Like, let the professional take over. Trust them. They're going to do it right.
They're the professional for a reason.
Right.
Yeah.
So you mentioned it before. One of the misconceptions that you always get with clients is that they can't do it using their own stuff. And it kind of brought a question to my mind. So how much of your clients do you work with that are already lived in, and how many do you do with new builds where you have to bring in full furniture and lighting and all that stuff?
So those are the completely different, I would say those are like two main branches that you just identified for home staging. So I used to do a lot of vacant homes, whether it's new builds or somebody, who's already moved out for whatever reason, or it could be divorce where, the furniture is split and house is half empty. There's all sorts of different circumstances where people are selling a house which is vacant. So in that case, of course, we have to have inventory. So I used to have a big warehouse. I don't have it anymore. That's why I'm going online. Didn't want to deal with that. But either stages, usually staging companies either have a big warehouse of their own furniture and accessories, and then they come and they check the site and they prepare a staging plan. So basically making a list of everything that they need to put in, and then they have to select all of this stuff. It's a lot of stuff. People don't realize how much work is involved and how much stuff gets transported, and then you have to put it on the truck. You need to bring it over. Basically, it's like move in and move out both ways. So it's a lot of work.
Which is the worst part of the whole buying a new house is moving.
I know.
And you do it all day, every day. So kudos to you on that one.
It's a lot of work. And honestly, when I was like, at one point I had my own movers. And then I also sometimes, depending on the places where you live, there's some rental companies where they rent furniture. So now in Montreal, I partnered up with a rental company because I just couldn't deal with carrying all this inventory, and it breaks and it gets stolen and you have to replace it because it's not trendy anymore, and the movers are expensive. So, but I feel for the guys who do this, like you said, every day, say 5 days a week, carrying, and in cold weather too. I mean, where you are, I know you have bad winters like we do, and sometimes in a super cold and snow you have to. So it's a lot of work, but I don't think people realize how much work it is. So that's one part of the staging. Now, of course, that part, me personally, I can still do it locally, and I still do. Actually, I'm doing one on Sunday, but it's not something that I can do online. So online, my solution is if somebody wants, they have a vacant home, I can help them just with photos, and on Zoom, I can make the list for them of how much furniture they need, what they need, like kind of put the whole shopping things for them together. And then after that, they can just go and source it themselves or rent it from a rental store, or of course they can hire like a staging company, and then they'll get a full solution, but that is more expensive. So the second part is where I really specialize in now. It's for lived-in homes, and there I first, I have a system, my system called ABCD method, and it sounds cute, but it's actually quite simple. So the A stands for assess and analyze, and I really believe that the first step is to self-assess your house, and that's the hardest thing for people to do. Most people are always overestimating and over-evaluating their house, right? Like it's like people think that their kids are always, the best. So I have a special document. Actually, I ran a free challenges. My next challenge is coming up on Monday, the 25th of January. It's a 3-day challenge, which is absolutely free and it's online. And I work with people to go through my house assessment worksheet together to make them think critically and objectively and to assess their situation. So once they know how marketable their house is today, they usually get surprised and realize that it's not as marketable as they thought it was. Then we analyze the competition, and that's obviously where a realtor comes in, because a realtor can help. You can help the client to do the market analysis, and then you see the gap. And once you know the gap, then you know what kind of things you need to do. So if you have to paint 3 rooms, if you have to remove an old carpet and replace it, if you have to, I don't know, put backsplash in the kitchen, maybe you need to, and then you shop for accessories, maybe you need to change some window coverings. So basically I will build a staging plan with the client, and I will go with them on Zoom or WhatsApp or FaceTime, and I'll go through their house, through the process. Every time they need me, I'm there until the house is completely ready to be showcased.
Wow.
Yeah, and how early do you like to get in with these homeowners before they actually go and list their homes? Because there's a lot of people that are like, yep, we're going to move, we're going to list it in 2 weeks.
Look, the idea is, I always tell clients that I should be the first person in. I should be there before they start calling realtors, because if the house is, I mean, tell me if I'm wrong, but if you come in and the house looks, not so good, probably you, even as an experienced realtor, you'll still kind of not be so happy. You might give them like a little lower estimate. But if you come into a house that looks absolutely perfect, you will probably add some extra money because you'll know you'll be able to sell it higher. Am I wrong?
No, I think, 1A, 1B, to be honest. Like if they contact a home stager and I walk in and it is
immaculate,
yeah, beautiful, I'm like, this is great. It makes my comp search way easier, way nicer.
Exactly.
It kind of alleviates the, hey, I ran comps, your house is a little outdated, you're on the lower end, your neighborhood comps are X, but you're X minus 5 because
exactly.
everything is outdated. You should call a home stager.
Yeah, so I have clients, honestly, I have clients that all ranges from everywhere. So I used to have a lot of desperate clients. Right now there are fewer desperate clients in this particular market. But when the market balances itself out, it's going to probably be the same thing. So there are people who don't want to do anything. They try to sell their house, but then after 3 or 4 months, they get really desperate, and then they call me to kind of come in and save them and help the situation.
Yeah.
And then you have people who are very savvy and smart and know that this is something that they should do before they list. And I work with people who even have 2 weeks and people who have 3 months. So if somebody needs to list very quickly, the faster they get me in, the faster I can work with them, and we can decide, based on their time frame and their budget, what is feasible to do. But even if they do 75%, it's better than doing nothing.
Right. And I truly believe that home staging is something that's going to go in up or down markets, because I always try to gain perspective in terms of, okay, we're in a really competitive market. There's not a lot of homes out there. Seller, how is your house going to set apart from the house down the street or the house 1 block over or a community over? If your house is not going to showcase like theirs will, as buyers, where do you think they're going to go? They're going to gravitate towards the house that is more complete, more put together. So even though it's a very competitive market, you're now struggling to get buyers to go into your home and actually want to pick yours over the next one. So
well, that's a very good point.
I no matter what the market is telling me, a home stager is going to be your best friend in terms of makeup of your home. So it's going to make the house look good. It's going to attract people to want to come in. Your pictures look so much better. No matter what the market is telling me, you should do it. I can't make them do it, but I suggest it strongly.
No. But I also wanna bring something else up to you, because even in a hot market, you'll tell me if that's what you're seeing, because you are better positioned. But I think that by staging a house, like when a house looks really good, and buying a house is an emotional decision, right? You know that.
Mm-hmm.
So when as a seller, you stage the house, even in a hot market, chances are that you're going to drive the final price up, because
Mm-hmm.
you're going to create a multi-offer situation.
Right.
People are going to start bidding on the house, and the price is going to drive itself up.
Right.
So even in a hot market, you don't have to put the effort in if you don't want to, but if you do, chances are that you'll still make a lot of extra money, just because you'll end up in a higher, in a bidding war, basically. You'll create a bidding war, right?
Right. And as a seller, you love a bidding war.
Absolutely.
So I would suggest.
And I'm sure the realtor likes the bidding war too.
Right. Maybe not on the buy side. The buy side's kind of stressful.
Yeah,
Sell
no.
side, absolutely.
On the seller, when you listed the house.
Yeah.
So do you work more with buyers or sellers?
Both.
Okay.
I've done both. I don't know what I like more. I mean, they both have their pros and their cons.
Sure.
The selling side, there's a lot of like front-loaded work, like home staging and condition reports, and like going through the property to make sure you have everything listed correctly in the MLS. There's a lot more marketing goes into it.
Sure.
Buyers, you're like, what house do you want to go see today? But that means it's more travel. It means like there's more research in communities and deed restrictions, and so like they all have their ups and their downs. I don't know which one I like more, to be honest.
Yeah. Tell me something? What do you find, because of the situation we're in with the pandemic? Like, do you find that your clients maybe are reluctant to have like people physically come into their house to do the work?
Yeah, so they've set up some parameters in terms of you have to space out your showings, and you need to sign release waivers, both sellers and buyers, if you're going to go into a home. So they're taking precautions.
And the nice thing is they have all these virtual tours now that you can do too.
Yeah.
Which is fabulous.
So what we did with the listings is we did like basically a virtual walkthrough. You can click in. It reminds me of a Barbie doll house, where you can take the top off and you can click what room you want to go into. And it zooms into that room, and then you can click the hallway, and it walks you into the hallway. So with those technologies there, one, it's important to make your house look clean and orderly, because that is on the internet forever now.
Yes.
So let's put on a good face there. And two, there's a lot more traffic. There's so many more people going through the home because they don't have to physically drive there to go see it. You can have 200 people in a night go through your house virtually.
Right.
So
I had a question for you. I've seen online that they have, these like photographers, I believe, are using virtual staging. Has that impacted,
I knew you were going to ask me about that.
Has that impacted your
oh no,
business?
the bad question.
I know. Has that impacted your business, or do you not see much of a...
Okay, so this is my opinion. So virtual staging, I know there's some big companies in the U.S., some big real estate companies in the U.S. who use, I think Coldwell Banker is one of them actually.
Okay.
I think they use a virtual staging routinely. Now, you have to be very careful, because first of all, you have to declare, right? It has to be stated on MLS that it is the representation of what a room could look like.
There was a lot of people getting in trouble for that when it first came out.
Was there?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Because they'd show this digitally remastered, perfect living room, and you've got buyers walking in, they're like, what is this? Like, the floors are torn up, the wall colors are different. There's no ceiling fan. Like, it was, and they made it so clean that it didn't look that digital. It just looked like a really, really good Photoshop picture.
I was doing research for another realtor the other day, and I was looking at like pictures of these high-end rooms, and I was like, what is going on here?
Yeah, so the DSPS actually reworked their whole marketing. Where you need to disclose everything, and it needs to be
exactly.
Apparent
It has to be disclosed. Now, there's some situations in which it definitely there is a place for it. So, for example, I'll give you an example. So, for example, somebody is using their dining room for whatever purpose. Like, I recently had a client, and it's a real case, okay? I recently had a client in New York State, and her mother-in-law, very elderly and sick lady, was in basically in a bed, those like hospital beds, and the only place they could put her was what normally technically would have been a dining room of the house with a curtain. So that was a situation that they had to deal with. You couldn't change it. So in that particular case, potentially that room, if somebody would have taken a photo of it without the mother-in-law there, obviously, and then you could have virtually staged that room as a dining room and show it to prospective buyers to show them what this room could look like. Sure. So that's one of the uses. The other is very popular, and I do that. It's part of my services. Okay. I offer that service. It's inexpensive, and so for somebody who can't afford or really doesn't want a real staging, but for vacant homes, let's just make it very clear that this is for vacant homes, because you cannot digitally remove. Somebody has like very cluttered room, you cannot start digitally removing all the stuff that's there and then replacing it. So normally it works really well for vacant homes. If we have a good quality professional photo, then all we do is there is a database of furniture, and we use an app and we place strategically, the right scale furniture, and we make that room. So it's a real photo of a room, but with digital furniture placed on it. Right. And so it gives people a very good representation. So I call it a Band-Aid solution. Okay. Because at the end of the day, when somebody walks in for a physical visit, the room is still going to be empty.
Right.
But it's better than nothing. So in different types of situations, if people cannot do real staging, then I consider that they should at least do the virtual staging. Sure. What's your opinion, Marcus?
Yeah, I would always do the in-person. I've seen it all too often where you've got these listings where the sellers, they're still trying to sell their home. They already bought one. They've moved. The current home that they're trying to sell is just vacant, and it just sits there. Right. And then I just question, why is the agent not brought in a home stager to just put furniture in? Just putting furniture in is going to help make it seem more homey.
Yeah, but it's expensive. It could be the price.
Yeah, and I would talk to my client about, okay, you're talking about price of home staging. Let's say it costs you $5,000. Well, how long is how much is your mortgage payment a month? Yeah. Because the more it sits on the market, you're going to pay it. Yeah. You're either paying it in your mortgage or you're paying it for home staging. So, true. I mean, yes, it does cost money, but again, you're paying money the more it sits on the market. Every day it sits on the market is costing you more money in taxes, in mortgage, in utilities. Still got to keep it up. Yep. So let's just do what we can best to sell it. And I don't think leaving it vacant and unattended is putting your best foot forward on that one.
So you're not a fan of virtual staging then?
I do like it, but if I had to pick one, I would just say go in and put in the stuff, especially for vacant. We're doing a house flip right now, and that's going to go on the market in April or May, and I'll be staging it.
Oh, boy.
I know. I personally will not be. Oh. No. We don't want those. We don't want that. That will sit on the market for months if I do it.
Well, it's funny because my husband is actually a residential contractor, and so we also do flips.
Yeah.
We're doing our 10th or 11th one now.
That's awesome.
And it's going to be finished hopefully in the next 3 weeks. And so I'm already right now starting to prepare my list.
You're brainstorming
of all the
already.
Staging stuff that I'm going to be putting in there.
Yeah.
But I have an advantage.
Right. No, but I think that's awesome. That is a really good kind of alignment with you and your husband on that one.
Yeah.
Because while he's got his stuff going on.
I chose my second husband better than the first one.
I know the feeling.
It's a really cool kind of thing you got going where his mind is going into finishing the rough and the finishing work. You're already, hey, this is what we're going to do for the bathroom and this is what we're going to do for the living room. There's no way, maybe your husband could do it, but there's no way I could navigate building the house and setting aside time to go in and pick out fixtures and all that stuff, and what
so
decor
that's what
we're
I
gonna
do.
do, what's the feel of the house. Like, I just don't have it. I don't know.
We do the design together, and then I'm in charge. He's in charge of all the technical stuff, and I'm in charge of all the financial and accounting and all the design and decorating stuff.
Yeah,
girl,
that's awesome.
That's what I like to hear.
When you go into a residential, I'm just trying to make it fit for like our audience who are they're either looking to sell soon or have thought about it in the future. When you walk into their homes or talk to them or go on Zoom and look at their home, do you try to fit the style that their home already is, or do you try to come in and this style would work better? How do you work with the seller on that one?
Well, that's a good question, but again, if a person, I try to work as much as possible with what people have. So, okay, now also there is a limit, because if let's say if a client I have a lot of retired people. Let's say that it's retired people, they want to downsize. They know that their furniture might not be up to par to today's standards. And especially if they're in an area, I always ask them, who is their potential clientele? What kind of neighborhood do they live in? If it's, let's say, their potential clientele is going to be a young family with young children or professionals, then obviously they don't want to come in and see, the house full of antiques and doilies and all that stuff. So we kind of
I just learned what doilies were. Sorry, I have to interject. I just learned what doilies were about a month ago. I had no idea. Someone just said it, and I was like, what is a doily?
It's like those little white crocheted thingies that old people put everywhere.
I got explained. Yeah, those are the things on Grandma's end table.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Good. Sorry, I had to interject on that one.
So we do try to be, like, the short answer to your question, that I always try to update the house as much as possible, again, within the person's time frame, possibilities, and budget. But I will try to maybe repaint it a more modern color, maybe add some decorative elements, maybe replace some furniture, whatever is possible to do. So any house, you can't really respect the house's style as much. I think you have to look more for who is the clientele for that type of a house.
Right. And that's all the more reason to go with the home stager for that reason. You are living in your house for your lifestyle. You are trying to attract someone with their lifestyle.
Sure.
Let's make it accommodating for them.
So can I ask you, if you had to give advice to our audience, what are your top 3 tips that you would give our audience?
3 top tips on what?
On staging, on getting ready to stage.
Or what are 3 big things that they're going to have to get ready for when you come in? Or that you typically see, I guess.
I think, actually, I'm doing an interview with a realtor on Monday on my Facebook Lives, and we're going to talk more about like the emotional preparation, and the financial stuff, but I don't really touch that area, in spite of the fact that a lot of times I do act as a psychologist, and people unload their whole lives. It's true, it's 80%, but I do psychology. People unload their whole life situations on me. And I'm there to pull them through, So it's a lot more than just telling them to replace couple of couches and curtains. But I would say the major issue that I see people struggling, whether it's in their head or their reality, it's decluttering. And a lot of people, their first fear or worry is, I know I've been in the house for 25 years. I know I have too much stuff. Like, they procrastinate on that step. So I'm not an organizer, but it's my job to kind of push them through that step. So I would say my first big tip is, yes, there is, for most people, there is a lot of some decluttering that needs to be done. So that's kind of unavoidable. And then once that's done, then as I said, never finished actually talking about my method. But the A is for really assessing and analyzing your house, and B is for preparing a budget. So I think it's important for people to think through what exactly they need to do. Once they know what they need to do, they can estimate a budget for that to make sure that they're comfortable with the investment that they're going to be making. And then C is to actually implementing, correcting the situation. And D, which is the last part, is decorating. So if they follow a simple roadmap and simple steps, like they don't have to overspend. And I think that's probably my other important element that I want people to remember is that it can be done on their own with professional guidance, and they don't have to necessarily spend thousands of dollars on getting their home already.
Yeah, and I think that's one thing that I'm hoping the viewers will take from this is that if you're living in a home and you want a home stager in, one, you should have a home stager in, and it's not going to break the bank for you. It's going to be worth it.
Doesn't have to.
It's going to help you out, especially when the home stager you're working with is going to be very aware or conscious of your budget and what you want to get done, but not overprice it to where you're not going to obviously cash out from your investment. So I think that's a key component, and that's awesome that you're aware of that.
Yeah, I treat their money as I treat my own money.
And that's important.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
We are going to have to tune in to your Facebook Live.
Yeah.
You said it's on Monday?
Every Monday I do Facebook Lives in my group, so you can, if you want, I can send you my group link and you can post it.
Yeah.
And anybody who is a home seller within the next 6 months, I would say, is welcome to join. I also have my free challenge, which you might want to let people know if you have any potential home sellers.
Sure.
It's absolutely free.
Yeah. We always attach contact information and marketing material into the show notes of this one. So Natasha will reach out to you to get those links
Absolutely.
in that group, and then we'll post it right in the show notes for this one. So all of our viewers listening to this show can just scroll down, click on that stuff. If you have a website, we'll put that up there. And then any contact information as well.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. And then, of course, if any of your potential home sellers would like to get any more information or ask me any questions, well, they'll know where to find me.
Exactly.
I'm available.
Exactly.
Oh, this has been
Thank
such
you
a
so
fun
much.
Conversation. I love it. I love home staging just regardless. It's like one of my guilty pleasures. So I'm gonna have to talk to you a little bit more offline.
No problem.
Yeah.
Okay, Natasha. So I'll wait for you to send me, ask me for what you need from me, and I'll provide all the links.
Awesome.
And Marcus, good luck, and let me follow you somewhere. Give me information where I can follow you and see how well you're doing in your area.
Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome.
And we will.
I'll send you all of that information.
Yeah, Natasha's my saving
Perfect.
grace on that one. But
Okay,
I'm interested in
Thank you
this.
so much for having me.
Yeah, no problem.
Thank you. We'll talk to you soon.
Okay, have a good weekend.
You too.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.